Hi, welcome back to Case Brief's LSAT course. My name is Sean Murphy. Today we're going to have an introduction to logic games. Logic games are, for a lot of students, the scariest section of the LSAT. We've all had to do reading comp before on the SAT or some other standardized tests, and common sense is enough to get us at least started in the logical reasoning section. But very few of us have ever had to put Harold, Gupta, Ingrid, Jerome, Khalil, and Lucretia in some kind of order to see in what sequence they're going to view a rental apartment, or seat 7 diplomats around a circular table. The logic games are kind of unique in the world of test prep. There's nothing quite like them. And so they're very foreign, they're very strange, and they seem quite alien to the vast majority of LSAT students. But one thing that I really like about logic games is that with the vast majority of my students, I see the most dramatic improvement. A lot of my students start out only being able to get to 2 games, if that, and they complete their studies able to achieve a perfection or near perfection on all 4 logic games. With logic games, we can learn some tried and true strategies to attack the different kinds of logic games and achieve a great deal of improvement. So this section, really invest your time in it, and you'll see some really impressive results. We break the logic games section into 3 major game types: basic sequencing, advanced sequencing, and grouping. Basic sequencing, which we'll cover today, is the most common kind of logic game, and you really have to master these games in order to do well on the more difficult games in the other game sections. Every game section that I've ever seen has at least one basic sequencing game, and so you gotta master these tools before you can move on and tackle the more difficult games. Before we actually look at a specific game, let's take a look at the June 2007 game section, and I'll tell you what category each of these games fits into. The first game is actually a sort of nebulous 4th category, kind of a wild card game. It's sort of weird and doesn't really fall nicely into any of those 3 major categories. We'll look at it later in class today, but for now, I'm just going to explain a little bit as to why it's kind of strange. You have 5 digits to put in some sequence, so it looks like a sequencing game, but the rules tell you nothing about what comes before or after. The rules are actually kind of strangely mathematical. The 2nd digit has a value exactly twice that of the 1st digit. That's the 3rd rule. That's not typical for a sequencing game. So let's move on to the second game. And this also might look like a sequencing game because it has days of the week. Days of the week have a natural order. Thursday is always before Friday. Friday is always before Saturday. So typically, when a game has days of the week, it's a sequencing game. But the rules here have nothing to do with the order. It's all about how these characters are going to group together. If we look at the first rule, on Thursday, Harvest is shown, and no other film is shown after it on that day. That means that Harvest is the last film in Thursday, but I don't know who can come before Harvest. I just know that Harvest is last. And then I have a couple other rules that tell us that the other characters are last Friday and Saturday. So it's not a sequencing game, it's more of a grouping game. How are these 3 films or characters going to group into 3 different days of the week? The third game, however, which we're going to cover in depth, is a much more typical basic sequencing game. So let's take a look at it. A cruise line is scheduling 7 week-long voyages for the ship Freedom. Each voyage will occur in exactly one of the first 7 weeks of the season, weeks 1 through 7. Each voyage will be to exactly one of the 4 destinations: Guadeloupe, Jamaica, Martinique, or Trinidad. Each destination will be scheduled for at least one of the weeks. The following conditions apply to Freedom's schedule. So I have 7 weeks. I have 4 destinations, and we'll call those characters that you put in these different weeks or slots the characters. And if I look at the rules, there's rules about who comes before, who comes after, who has to be immediately next to one another. So this is what we call a basic sequencing game. Now, there's a couple things that are a little strange about this game, even if I'm going to put it in the basic sequencing category. There's 4 characters and 7 slots. We'll look at a game later today which has a 1-to-1 correspondence, meaning that there's the exact same number of characters as there are slots to put them in. So this game is a little strange, but I wanted to cover it first because it's from the test that you just took, and I'm sure a lot of you have questions about it. Before we get into the particulars of this game, I want to talk a little bit about your game setup, and this applies to every logic game. Say these squiggly lines here are that first introductory paragraph. Then you've got some rules, and then you've got the questions. Every logic game has at least 5 questions. Some will have 6 or 7. There's always 22 to 23 logic games questions per section. So actually, it's a section with the least number of questions, if that makes some of you feel a little better. But it's still a section that you should look at very seriously, and I'm sure you'll see a dramatic improvement. Now, we want our setups to be as consistent as possible. We want our setups to look the same from game to game to game. So what I like to do is to put my characters along the left-hand side. So that would be Guadeloupe, Jamaica, Martinique, and Trinidad, always along the left-hand side of the page. The basic setup, the 7 weeks or slots, somewhere around here below the second column of questions, and then leave space for the rules between the characters and the setup. You only have this page to work on. You only have the page of the game itself to do all of your setup, all of your deductions. You get no scratch paper on the LSAT except for the unscored writing sample part of the LSAT. So you need to be as efficient as possible with the page you're given. You don't want to do any work on other pages of the logic game section because that'll ruin those pages for those games. And you're not allowed to turn to other sections of the test. So you need to be as precise and as concise as possible on the page where you do your setup and your deductions. Now let's take a look at how to do this setup. So as I said, characters along the left-hand side of the page. Characters are G, J, M, and T. Guadeloupe, Jamaica, Martinique, and Trinidad. Now we write our 1 through 7. Now it's time to diagram the rules. First rule, Jamaica will not be its destination in week 4. Well, that's the kind of rule we can write right into the setup. No Jamaica in week 4. I suppose we could also do this, but that's kind of redundant. We've already got it in the setup, so let's get rid of that. Want to save as much space as possible. Second rule, Trinidad will be its destination in week 7, so we can write a positive T right there, telling us that Trinidad will always be 7th. These first 2 rules are gift rules. They just tell us something that's always true about the game. We like them. We thank the LSAT gods when they give them to us because they're easy. Now the rules get a little more difficult. Rule 3, Freedom, that's the name of the ship, not a character or destination, will make exactly 2 voyages to Martinique, and at least 1 voyage to Guadeloupe will occur in some week between those 2 voyages. Well, we could diagram that M, and to display a relationship that's not precise, just characters that are before or after one another, just use a dash. M, G, M. There's going to be a G between the 2 M's. Also, it tells us there's exactly 2 Martiniques. Because, as we know, 4 characters, 7 slots to put them in. Some characters are going to go more than once. Now, this isn't the only G. There could be other G's outside of the 2 Martiniques, so we have to remember that as well. This next rule is really interesting. Guadeloupe will be its destination in the week preceding any voyage it makes to Jamaica. that word any is really important. As we discussed in the previous lesson, any introduces a sufficient condition. So we can rephrase this rule. Anytime we go to Jamaica, there has to be a Guadeloupe immediately before that Jamaica. So that's how we would diagram this rule. Jamaica requires a Guadeloupe before the Jamaica. There's a couple of incorrect ways to diagram this rule. Now, before I move on, just when there's a precise relationship, characters immediately before or after one another, or simply adjacent to, or sometimes characters that can't be next to one another, we put that in a block. So it's the dash for characters simply before or after, a block for characters immediately next to. Now, if we just diagram this rule with a GJ block, well, that's partially true. Every character is going to go at least once, so there's going to be a GJ block in this game. But that doesn't capture the full meaning of the rule, because every time there's a Jamaica, there needs to be a Guadeloupe before it. So there isn't just one GJ block, there could be, but there could be more than one if Jamaica goes more than once. Another thing, too, is that Jamaica needs Guadeloupe. Jamaica is the sufficient condition here. Guadeloupe could go on its own. Guadeloupe doesn't need Jamaica. Jamaica is the needy character here. It's the character that brings another character along with it. So that's an important thing to note, that Jamaica is kind of a troublesome character in this game. Jamaica is going to result in another character being immediately before it. So Jamaica will be involved probably in a lot of hypothetical situations that can't be true, because it's difficult to put Jamaica in certain slots. I mean, already we know it can never be in 4, but also we know that Jamaica will always bring a Guadeloupe before it. So having multiple rules about a character, a good indication that that character is going to be really important when solving the questions. Now, the last rule, no destination will be scheduled for consecutive weeks. We could, I suppose, do a not GG, a not JJ. Of course, that would be impossible anyway because of the Jamaica-Guadeloupe rule, but there's really no need to write out 4 anti-blocks like this. This is the kind of rule which is so fundamental to the game that you probably need to remember it. I don't think you need to spend the time to write out these 4 anti-blocks. So what I would do, I would write a little r next to this rule, just that you're going to remember it, that you can never have consecutive characters. Let's talk about deductions now. This game, as a basic sequencing game, does not have a whole lot of deductions. We know that Jamaica can't be 4th. We know that Jamaica needs a Guadeloupe before it. So we know that Jamaica can never be 1st. That's something we could say. But that's really about it. We might be tempted to think that Guadeloupe can't be 1st, or maybe it can't be 6th because it has to have a Martinique after it. But that's not really the case, because there can be multiple Guadeloupes in this game. So we really can't do a whole lot of deductions in this game. We'll see games later today where there's some more deductions we can do, but generally with basic sequencing games where you have one set of characters and only one row to put them in, not a whole lot of deductions. Don't feel that you have to do a whole lot of deductions before moving on to the questions. Some games lend themselves to more deductions, and most games there's not a whole lot you do. You only get points for getting the questions right. So if you spend so much time worrying about deductions that you don't have enough time for the questions, you're really shooting yourself in the foot. So if you understand the differences between the game categories, you'll be a lot better off to decide, okay, this is a game where I should be doing more deductions, as opposed to a game like this where you don't need to do that many. All right, now let's look at these individual questions. The first question, which one of the following is an acceptable schedule of destinations for freedom in order from week 1 to week 7? most sequencing games start out with a question like this called a list question, where each of the answer choices lists all the different characters in the order they supposedly appear in. Now, these questions are kind of a gift too, because you don't have to do a lot of writing on your own. You can just knock out wrong answers based on when they violate the rules. They're also a good opportunity to test your understanding of the rules to make sure you've diagrammed the rules correctly. And even if answer choice A looks perfect to me, I always test out B, C, D, and E. Because if I made a mistake in diagramming the rules or in my understanding of the game, I want to catch it early on. I don't want to get to number 17, the last question in this game, and then realize that, oh, there's 2 right answers or there's no right answer. I must have done something wrong. Maybe my whole game is compromised. It's much better to catch a mistake early on in the game. So take a little bit more time than you might think is necessary for some of the easier questions, and then move on to some of the more difficult questions. So let's take a look at these answer choices. Answer choice A, Guadeloupe, Jamaica, Martinique, Trinidad, Guadeloupe, Martinique, Trinidad. Well, we have Trinidad last. We have a Jamaica second, preceded by a Guadeloupe. We've got 2 Martiniques and a Guadeloupe between the 2. So this actually looks really good. Let's go on to the other answer choices. We're going to hold on to A. Answer choice B. There's 2 Martiniques, but only a Trinidad between them, so we can get rid of answer choice B. Answer choice C, Jamaica is first. There always needs to be a Guadeloupe before Jamaica, so we can get rid of answer choice C. Answer choice D, Jamaica's fourth. We know we can't have that, so D is out. And answer choice E, I have Trinidad second and fourth, but not last. So that means that E is wrong. We're left with A, the correct answer. But even though A looked perfect, I still wanted to test out B, C, D, and E. Now, some people like to do these list questions a little differently. Some people like to take a rule and go down all 5 answer choices. So they'll take the Jamaica can't be fourth rule and just look at all of them. D's the only one that violates it. They'll eliminate D and then go to the next rule, and so on and so forth. Either way, I think, is actually fine. My way works for me. I would suggest testing out both ways. But either way, make sure you understand not only why the right answer is right, but why all the wrong answers are wrong. Now let's take a look at number 12. Which one of the following cannot be true about freedom's schedule of voyages? This is an early question in the game. Obviously, it's the second question. And it's asking us what cannot be true. So it's the kind of question that we often can figure out before even getting to the questions. It's the kind of question that we should that should reflect our understanding of the game without doing too much work. Answer choice A, Freedom makes a voyage to Trinidad in week 6. Well, if we've written the Trinidad in week 7, we can see right away that Trinidad can't be week 6. We know that the different destinations, the different characters, can't be consecutive. If number 12 were really hard, if we had a tough time with it, we probably did something wrong. We may have misunderstood a rule, or maybe our understanding of the game is off. The earlier questions in the game, the questions in the first column, tend to be a lot easier than the later questions. So if we really had trouble with 12, we might want to reconsider the work we did and make sure that our rules, or our diagrams of the rules, reflect the actual rules. Now, number 13 is our first question that starts with an if. So it's actually giving us a condition, and then we have to decide, in this case, which of the following could be true. So what we're going to do, we're going to write out a number 13. And if possible, write out your hypotheticals next to the question. Now, if you look at this page, there's not a lot of room next to the question, but try to do as much work as you can next to the questions that the hypotheticals refer to. Because that way, if you do all your work at the bottom of the page, that bottom of the page is going to fill up really quickly. So try to do your work sometimes at the top of the page, like for number 14, or next to a question if possible. But we're going to start out putting the character that they tell us to put and where they put it, and then we're going to see if any other deductions follow from that. So here's our 1 through 7. It gives us 2 Trinidads, the one that's always in week 7 and one in week 5. Which of the following could be true? A, Freedom makes a voyage to Trinidad in week 1. Well, there's nothing in the rules that tells us that we can't visit a certain destination 3 times. So let's see if we can have Trinidad in week 1. Well, that leaves a question, where do we put our Jamaica? As I said earlier, Jamaica can't go 4th, can't go 1st, needs a Guadeloupe, so it can't go 6th. It can never go 4th. And if I put it week 3, I only have 2 slots left for the 2 Martiniques, but there's no Guadeloupe between them. So answer choice A is out. Now let's look at answer choice B. Freedom makes a voyage to Martinique in week 2. Well, we're going to have the same problem, where to put Jamaica. Jamaica can't never be 4th. It can't be 6th here. It can't be 3rd because it needs a Guadeloupe before it, and it can never be 1st. So answer choice B is out. Answer choice C. The Freedom makes a voyage to Guadeloupe in week 3. Again, we have the Jamaica problem. Can never be 4th. It'd be nice if it could be 4th since there's a Guadeloupe right there. Can't be 6th here. It can't be 2nd because that would put only these 2 slots for my Martiniques, and there's no G between the 2 M's. So C is out. Answer choice D. Freedom makes a voyage to Martinique in week 4. All right, well, I think by this point, we're so sick of, well, actually, we kind of like the fact that Jamaica's gotten rid of all these wrong answers, but we've realized that where to put Jamaica is kind of the key to this game. And we figured that out initially because it was involved in so many different rules. If we put Martinique week 4, I'm definitely going to want to put Jamaica 3rd. That's going to put a G before it. I can then put my M to surround the G. And then I've got this open space here, which I could put a G or an M. It doesn't really matter because this works. This fulfills the Jamaica problem, and I've got a valid hypothetical here. So just for argument's sake, let's put G there. Got 2 G's, 2 M's, 2 T's, and 1 J. This works. I'm going to choose answer choice D and move on. Let's take a look at number 14. If Freedom makes a voyage to Guadeloupe in week 1 and a voyage to Jamaica in week 5, which one of the following must be true? So it's another question that starts with an if. So we have a specific condition that we need to write in a hypothetical. But this, unlike 13, is a must-be-true question. So we probably can do more deductions before moving on to the answer choices. So let's write this out. So Freedom goes to Guadeloupe in week 1 and goes to Jamaica in week 5. Now we know that Jamaica going in 5 is going to force a Guadeloupe in 4. Don't forget to write your Trinidad in 7 because it's always in 7. And now let's look at what's going on here. I've got 2 Guadeloupes in 1 and 4. I need to have my Guadeloupes, at least one of my Guadeloupes, surrounded by 2 Martiniques. I could put one of the Martiniques in 2 or 3, but I definitely need 1 in 6. It has to surround, the two Martiniques have to surround the Guadeloupe, so one of them has to go there. That's a big deduction for this question. That wasn't given to me in the question itself. Let's take a look at our answer choices and see if Martinique going 6th is one of the answer choices. Well, A says Jamaica's in week 2. No, that's not the case here. That could be true, but it doesn't have to be. Trinidad week 2, looks like it could be true, but it doesn't have to be. Martinique week 3, definitely could be true, but I'm looking for Martinique week 6 because we definitely made that deduction. D, Freedom goes to Guadeloupe in week 6. We know that can't be true. E, Freedom goes to Martinique in week 6. That's exactly what we found. With an if question, that's a must be true. We can probably figure out the answer before going on to the answer choices. And that's the way to do it. Now this next question, if Freedom makes a voyage to Guadeloupe in week 1 and to Trinidad in week 2, which of the following must be true? We can actually use our previous hypothetical. And that's definitely what we should be doing as we move on to the later questions in the game. In the earlier questions, 11, 12, 13, it's all about getting used to the rules, learning the rules of the game, and applying them to the questions, maybe taking a little bit more time than we think is necessary. As we get to the second column, we want to get the heck out of this game and move on to the next one. So if we can use the work that we've done already, then that'll really help us move more quickly through the later questions. So let's see if we can eliminate some of these wrong answers based on this previous hypothetical. So Guadeloupe did go in the previous question, week 1. What we're going to do is, because we left 2 and 3 open, we're going to put a Trinidad in week 2. And we know this works if we put a Martinique in week 3. Now, I don't know if this has to be the way it works out. All I know is that this is a possibility with Guadeloupe 1 and Trinidad 2, as we're told to do in question 15. So I look at answer choice A, Freedom makes a voyage to Martinique in week 3. Hey, it happened here. But I don't know if it had to happen. So I'm just going to hold on to A. I can't pick it. If this was a could be true question, I could choose A and be done with it, but it's a must be true. I can use previous work to eliminate wrong answers on must be true questions. I can use previous work to choose correct answers on could be true questions, but not the other way around. Just because Martinique happened to go week 3 here, I don't know yet if it had to go in week 3. But I can definitely say that Martinique doesn't have to be 4 because I have a G there. So I can eliminate answer choice B. I can definitely say that Martinique didn't have to go 5 because I have a J there. So I can eliminate answer choice C. I can definitely say that Guadeloupe didn't have to go week 3, so I can eliminate answer choice D. And I can definitely say that Guadeloupe did not have to go week 5, so I can eliminate answer choice E. I'm left with A, and without doing much work at all, I got the correct answer by using work from a previous question. And that's exactly the way you should do it on a logic game. Let the work you've done work for you. If you keep writing out new hypothetical after new hypothetical, you might spend a lot more time on a game than you need to. Okay, we're almost done, and this is going pretty well, so let's take a look at these last 2 questions. Number 16. If Freedom makes a voyage to Martinique in week 3, which one of the following could be an accurate list of Freedom's destinations in week 4 and 5? Well, I have Martinique week 3, but I don't have any answer choice that has a G and a J. That would have been great, but probably a little bit too good, and they're never that nice to us on the LSAT. So let's take a look at a new hypothetical for question 16. So Martinique's week 3, and we're looking at weeks 4 and 5. Well, I don't see any reason why Guadeloupe and Trinidad can't go weeks 4 and 5. I'm looking at answer choice A, so let's try it out. Well, that definitely means I have to have my Trinidad in week 7, as always. And I can put my other Martinique week 6, so I can take care of the Guadeloupe-Martinique rule. And then I have spaces 1 and 2 free for Jamaica and Guadeloupe. It works. Answer choice A works. It's a could-be true question. So I have no reason to test out the remaining answer choices. As I said, we're approaching this game as if we're in a real game section. If you're on a could-be true question and you're at the second to last question of the game and it works, you take that and you move on to the last question. The last question is a global must be true. Which of the following must be true about Freedom's schedule of voyages? We can definitely use our previous work here and to eliminate wrong answers, and we can also use what we've learned about the entire game to get to the right answer. So 17, which of the following must be true about Freedom's schedule of voyages? A, Freedom makes a voyage to Guadeloupe either in week 1 or week 2. Well, Guadeloupe's 2 here, 1 here, and 1 here. That definitely looks like it's a contender. I can either test that or move on and see if there's an answer choice that looks like something we definitely know is true. Just for the sake of argument, I'm going to test it. Can I make Guadeloupe somewhere other than week 1 and 2? I'm going to do the work up here. Can I make Guadeloupe week 3? Or better yet, let's try to make Guadeloupe week 5. So I can put my Jamaica 6th, my Trinidad is 7th, I can put my MGM 2, 3, 4, and I can put a Trinidad first. So answer choice A doesn't have to be true, so I can eliminate it. Let's take a look at answer choice B. Freedom makes a voyage to Martinique either in week 2 or week 3. Well, I can look at number 13 and see that that definitely doesn't have to be true because there's no Martinique in week 2 or 3. So I can get rid of answer choice B. C, Freedom makes at most, 2 voyages to Guadeloupe. I don't really want to test that out. I mean, it looks like you could go a 3rd time. It's not as restricted as some of these other characters. And also, if I look ahead, C, D, and E are very similar. C, Freedom makes at most 2 voyages to Guadeloupe. D, Freedom makes at most 2 voyages to Jamaica. E, Freedom makes at most 2 voyages to Trinidad. Well, they're all very similar, but hopefully by now you can see that I'm most interested in answer choice D. Freedom makes at most 2 voyages to Jamaica. Why? Because I know that Jamaica has been such a problematic character. Going back to the beginning, Jamaica always needs a Guadeloupe before it. Jamaica can't go 4th and 1st. And if I put in 3 Jamaicas, more than 2, I'd have to have 3 Guadeloupes. That would be 6 characters. Put my Trinidad in there, there's not room for even 1 Martinique, let alone the 2 that we're required to have. So, answer choice D is correct. And if you're really good, you look at all the answer choices and think, which of these is the most likely to be true? An answer choice that limits Jamaica is definitely the answer choice most likely to be true. Of course, you don't want to choose it on a hunch. You want to figure out why it's really correct. But if you're really good at logic games, you'll be able to predict, based on your knowledge of the characters, which one is most likely to be in which kind of correct answer. It's a must-be-true question, so we're probably looking for a character that's highly restricted, and in this game, that's Jamaica. So number 17, answer choice is D, and we're done with this game.